Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making Cindy Lou Who. She is what I consider a no-sew body pattern, which means we're going to start by making the arms, and then we're going to make the legs, then we're going to move on to the top of the head, work our way down, add the arms, work on the body and the skirt, add the legs, add the eyes, stuff and clothes. And then we will have to do a little bit of embroidering, sew on the hair, and then attach the little ribbon. For this video, I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to start with the arm, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making a knot with a loop on the end, so what I'm going to do is fold my yarn in half, pinch that up at the top, wrap it around my finger, down and through to make my knot. Then I'm going to pinch that loop, and I'm just going to slide that knot all the way up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Insert your hook. Grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 6 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4 in the same stitch. Increase 5 and 6. Increase 7 and 8. Increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 4, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 5, 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 6, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 8. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, and then repeat that around. 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, and on our last decrease we're going to change color, so you're going to go in, grab your yarn, in, grab your yarn, leave those 3 loops on your hook. We're going to cut this color, leaving a tail for tying. Then you're going to grab your sleeve color. You're going to tie those 2 together and nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get them, 2 or 3 times. Then you're going to grab that new color and you're going to pull it through those 3 loops on your hook to finish off that last decrease of your previous row. Tuck those in if you can. Row 7, you're going to do 8 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now for this next row, we're going to be going in the back loops, and if you've never done that before, instead of going underneath both of those V's, you're going to come down, just grabbing the very back loop of the V all the way around. And this row is very important because these front loops that we leave behind, we're going to be using later on to do this little ruffle on the sleeve. So for row 8, in the back loops, we're going to do 8 single crochets. So down through that V, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then you should see all those little front loop stitches that we'll be using later on. Rows 9 to 16 are going to be 8 single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to do those consecutively. So that's 8 rows of 8. 8 times 8 is 64. So I'm going to do 64 single crochets and then flip my marker every time I hit a set of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Flip your marker and keep on counting. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Flip your marker, keep on counting. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Flip your marker, keep on counting. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Flip your marker, keep on counting. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Flip your marker, keep on counting. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Flip your marker, keep on counting. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Flip your marker, keep on counting. 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. Now you can take your hook out, take your stitch marker out, and now we're going to stuff that up. So we're just going to grab a little bit of stuffing, and we want to get it all the way down into the bottom of the hand. Our goal here is to have the hand fairly firm and in a kind of a nice little ball, and then the sleeve we'll have just lightly stuffed. So get that all the way down. You might need your scissors or something to help you just to compact that. I'm going to put a little bit more in. And also keep in mind when you're stuffing this that you're stuffing both your hands the same. And then we're just going to take a little bit of stuffing now that that is nice and firm and round. and just lightly come down the sleeve. So you want just enough in there that it gives it shape, but you don't want it to be really firm and straight, because when you sew it on or attach it, you don't want it to stick straight out. You want it to be able to be bendy and just kind of flop down to the side. And then once you have the right amount of stuffing, you're going to insert your hook in again. You're going to go into that very next stitch on the front, turn it around, and go into this very next stitch on the back. And we're going to do 3 single crochets across through both sides. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll tie that off, and even though we're not sewing it on, leave yourself a bit of a tail, because I do something with the ends that helps keep them a little more secure and less floppy. Okay, let's also add the little ruffle now, and you're going to be attaching your yarn, so you can attach your yarn any way you prefer. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end, but leave yourself a little bit of a tail for tying. And you're going to grab your arm. And when we attach our arms, this string is going to be at the front of the body, and this is going to be at the back of the body. So we want to make sure we're starting in the back side of the arm. So just come down from the back side. I'm going to do mine upside down so you can see the right side of the stitch. Just insert in one of those front loops that you left behind. You're going to attach your yarn onto your hook, pull it through. I like to leave the knot on the back side if I can. And then you're going to chain 1. And this isn't going to count as a stitch. This is just attaching our yarn. And then we're just going to do 8 half double crochets all the way around. And for a half double crochet, it's basically the same as a single, except you yarn over first. So yarn over, and go into that same stitch you were just in, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, and go through the 3 loops on your hook. That's 1, yarn over, in that same stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, go through those 3 loops on your hook. So that's 2. So you have 1 increase, increase again, 1 and 2 half double crochets, increase again, 1 and 2 half double crochets in the same stitch, increase again, 1 and 2, increase again, 1 and 2. And at some point you're going to get where your end of your row and your beginning of your row is, so you're just going to have to step up. So I was right here, and now I'm going to move up here to do my next half double crochet increase, 1 and 2, increase again, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and I'm on my last one here now. Increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and then you're just going to come over to behind your first half double crochet, so 1 and 2 in that stitch, and you're just going to come in this little V right here, and you're going to do a slip stitch, and then you're going to tie that off, leaving a little bit of a tail to weave inside of your sleeve and put to the inside. So grab your darning needle And you're going to thread on the end that you just tied off. You're going to come down really close. I like to go into that same V that I tied my knot. You're just going to kind of weave it in a couple of stitches on the back side or underside. Now you can pull it tight to bring that knot in, but then make sure you pull it back out so that it's not squished. And then you're going to tie your starting tail and your ending tail together loosely at first so you don't squish down that ruffle. And then slowly tighten as you go. And then you'll just thread those on and put them to the inside. And I'm going to stay with my dark colors together, so I'm going to come in and then I'm going to come out in the same color up the arm. And then just give it a little pull to make sure that knot you made is on the inside. And we'll cut those off. Now, if you have just finished your first arm, I will be putting a screenshot with a timestamp in the next frame so you can go back and do your second arm. And if you have finished your second arm, just keep on watching and we'll continue on to the next part. All right, now we're going to do the leg, and again, you can begin any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing a knot with the loop on the end. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, we're going to do 6 single crochets into that loop over top of the tail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then pull that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So up, increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, increase, 17, and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 24. 1, 2, and an increase, 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to start off with 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do 6 invisible decreases. And for an invisible decrease, you're going to grab the front loop. So grab the front, up through the middle of the V. Grab the front loop of the next stitch, up through the middle of that V. Grab your yarn, pull through both those front loops. Grab your yarn again and pull through the 2 loops left on your hook. So that's 1. Another invisible decrease. So front loop, grab your yarn, go through those 2 front loops, grab your yarn again, and go through the last 2 loops on your hook. So that's 2, invisible decrease, that's 3, invisible decrease, that's 4, invisible decrease, that's 5, invisible decrease, that's 6. Then we should have 6 single crochets left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Row 9, we're going to start off with 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 6 invisible decreases. So 1 invisible decrease, 2 invisible decreases, 3 invisible decreases, 4 invisible decreases, 5 invisible decreases, 6 invisible decreases. And then we should have 3 stitches left to finish off the row. 1, 2, and then on our third one we're going to change color. So in, grab your yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook. You can cut this color now, leaving a bit of a tail for tying. Then you're going to grab your new color. So this is the leg. Tie those 2 together nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get them, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to take that new color, pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Now for rows 10 to 17, you're going to do 12 single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to do those consecutively. So that's 8 rows of 12. 12 times 8 is 96. So we're going to do 96 single crochets and then flip our yarn every time we hit a set of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, flip your marker, but keep on counting, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, flip your marker, keep on counting, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, flip your marker, keep on counting, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, flip your marker, keep on counting, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, flip your marker, keep on counting, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, flip your marker, keep on counting, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, flip your marker, keep on counting, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. All right, we can take our hook out and our stitch marker out, and we're going to add some stuffing. So first what we want to do is we want to stuff out these toes that we've made where we put our invisible decreases. So we'll just get a nice little chunk in there, and we're going to push. So here's our decreases right here. So I'm just kind of sweeping that up into the toe. We want it kind of firm, but we don't want to stretch these stitches too much so that you see the stuffing. So once you feel like you've got enough in the front of the toe, you're going to take another little batch. We're going to put that down into the heel. And I'm also using the palm of my hand to kind of keep that foot flat. So it should be looking kind of like this now. And then you're just going to stuff about 2/3 up the leg. You want it to hold its shape. It doesn't have to be super firm, but you want to leave the top 2 or 3 rows empty so that when we sew it on or attach it, it's going to sit like this, kind of in a triangle shape. So when it's down, the little tummy can fit there and it won't want to flip backwards. So make sure you have some room in the top for that so it can squish down. And you're going to put your hook back in. And just like we did the arms, you're going to go into the next stitch. And then the last stitch on the other side. And we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then we're going to do an increase. Make sure you're going through both sides. So that's 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 2 single crochets across the end. 1, 2. And then tie off and leave yourself again a little bit of a tail. I don't do much with these ends, but I do tie them on the inside to secure them. And now, if you have just finished your first leg, I will be putting a screenshot over in the next frame with a timestamp so you can go back and do your second leg. And then if you're done your second leg, just keep on watching and we'll move on to the next part. All right, now we're going to start at the top of the head, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'll be doing my knot with the loop on the end. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then pull on that tail if you need to close up that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 6 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and our last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase 5 and 6, 7, increase 8 and 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, increase 17 and 18. Row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 24. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, increase 3 and 4, and repeat that around. 5, 6, increase 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3 single crochets, and an increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30. Row 6, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35 and 36. Row 7, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase, 6 and 7, and repeat that around. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and an increase, 41 and 42. Row 8, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 9, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 10, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 11, we are going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 12, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 13, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 14, 42 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Row 15, we are going to do 5 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease, 4, 6. Repeat that around, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, decrease, 4, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and a decrease, 4, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and a decrease for 36. Row 16, we are going to be doing 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5. Repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 17, we are going to be doing 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Row 18, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 19, we are going to do 18 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then on our 18th one, we're going to change colors. So you're going to go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook. You can cut this color off now, but make sure you leave a little bit of a tail for tying. And we're going to add the collar now, so grab that color, and you're going to tie those 2 colors together nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And you're going to take that new color, pull it through those 2 loops on your hook to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Now for this next row, we're going to be going in the front loops only. So if you've never done that before, just like when we did the back loops, instead of going underneath both of those V's in the stitch, you're going to come down and up and just catch those front loops, because we're going to need these back loops for the next row. So for row 20, in the front loops, we're going to start by doing a half double crochet. So remember, yarn over, up into that front loop, through the V, through the 3 loops, and then we're going to do a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, go into that same stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, go through the first 2 loops on your hook, grab your yarn, and go through the last 2 loops on your hook. And then you're going to do a double crochet in the next front loop, and then a half double crochet in that same front loop. And then you're going to do a slip stitch in the next front loop. So you're using 3 stitches, and this is the pattern you're going to do all the way around. So now you're going to do a half double crochet. Remember, all these stitches are in the front loops. A double crochet in that same stitch. Then you're going to do a double crochet in the next front loop. A half double crochet in that same stitch, and then a slip stitch in the next front loop. All right, so half double crochet and a double crochet in the same stitch. Then we're going to do a double crochet and a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then a slip stitch in the third stitch. Start that over again. Half double crochet, double crochet, next stitch, double crochet, half double crochet, next stitch, a slip stitch. Repeat that again. Half double crochet and a double crochet, next stitch, up, double crochet, up, I can't get the, still on that first double crochet, and then a half double crochet, and a slip stitch in the next stitch, and one more time, half double crochet, double crochet, in the next stitch, a double crochet, and a half double crochet, and then the last stitch, we'll just do a slip stitch. And then we're going to tie that off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail just to put that on the inside later on. And we're going to do the arms next in these back loops. So grab those, get those ready. I'm going to switch my camera view. Hopefully it'll be a little easier to see. And then I'll be right back. Okay, we're going to attach the dress color now. And you can attach your yarn any way you prefer. But do make sure you leave yourself a bit of a tail for putting your ends in. I'm just going to make my knot with the loop on the end. And when you go to start, you want to make sure that you are coming from the outside to the inside and going in the same direction that you've been going this whole time, or you're going to end up maybe with getting it inside out. And if you have a hard time finding your first back loop, we're going to go and find our very first stitch of the collar. I'm going to flip it around, and right where we put that on the other side is where our first front loop is going to be on the inside. All right, let's attach our yarn, pull it through, and we're going to chain one. And remember, that doesn't count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to the loop. And for row 21, we're going to start off with 3 single crochets. So in that same stitch, 1, next back loop, 2, next back loop, 3. Now we're going to add our arm. When we add our arms, we want to make sure that the strings are facing towards the front of the head. So where our stitch marker is the back. So this will be the front. You want your string to be on the front side. And you're going to go through the arm, the very first stitch of the arm, and the very next back loop of the head. 1, through the arm, through the head, that's 2, through the arm, and through the head, that's 3. And now we're going to do 6 single crochets in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you're going to get your other arm. Remember which side is your front and your back. So your back is here with your stitch marker. This is your front. You want that string to be facing towards the front of the head. And then we're going to do 3 single crochets through the arm and through the head. So into the arm, to the next stitch of the head. That's 1. Into the arm, into the next stitch of the head. That's 2. Into the arm, into the next stitch of the head. That's 3. And then we should have 3 back loops left to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm also just going to tuck this starting tail that we left inside. And for row 22, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. And make sure you're going behind the first single crochet and not in that chain that we made. So that's 1, 2, and an increase, 3 and 4. And then we're just going to repeat that all the way around. 5, 6, increase, 7, and 8. And when you get to these strings for the arms, make sure you leave them on the outside because that is where we'll need them for later. All right, let's continue on. 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and our last increase, 23 and 24. I'm going to get our stitch marker back in there. Row 23, we are just going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 24, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that around 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, and an increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30. Row 25, we are going to do 30 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Row 26, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6, and repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35 and 36. Row 27, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 28, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 29, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Row 30, 36 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. All right, we're going to be doing the skirt next, but before we do that, let's add the eyes. So you're going to grab those, get those ready. Okay, so what you want to do is flatten your little guy out. Make sure you're nice and centered. Make sure you're on the front. And we're going to count down to between rows 10 and 11. So starting in this first center loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So right here between rows 10 and 11, right now we're just finding the row. Then with him flattened out, just find the center stitch. I'm going to do that one right there. Just kind of double check if it looks centered to you. And if you're happy with it, your pin is in this first stitch, and you're going to go to 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, 4 holes. And in that 4th hole, you're going to push your eye in. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So find your center stitch where your pin is. 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th hole over. And then stick your eye in. And then again, just have another little quick double check that it's centered. And if you're happy with it, you're going to put your thumb on the eye, and you're going to push that eye up and through the neck. And then you're going to add your back. And then same thing for the other eye. Put your thumb on your eye, push it up through the neck. Grab your back. And let's put that on too. Now, if you want to, you can add a little bit of stuffing in the head now. I'm going to wait until I'm done the skirt part. So let's insert our hook back in. And we're going to be going in the front loops again. So remember, we are going to be, instead of going underneath, we're going to be coming up through the center of the V's, because the rest of the body will be in the back loops. Now we're going to start by doing a slip stitch into that first front loop. And then we're going to chain 1. And this won't be counting as a stitch. That's just to get the height of our half double crochet. So for row 1 of the skirt, in the front loops, we're going to do 5 half double crochets, a half double crochet increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 42. So half double crochet in that same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the increase for 6 and 7. And we're just going to repeat that all the way around. Remember, they're all front loops and they're all half double crochets. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, increase, 13 and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, increase, 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, increase, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, increase, 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and your increase, 41 and 42. And then you're just going to slip stitch behind that first half double crochet into that V right there. And chain 1. Row 2, starting in that same stitch we just slip stitched in, we're going to do 42 half double crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and then you're going to slip stitch behind that first half double crochet and chain 1. Row 3, starting in that same stitch you just slip stitched, 42 half double crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and then again slip stitch behind that first half double crochet and chain 1. Row 4, 42 half double crochets all the way around, starting in that same stitch that you just slip stitched in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and then again slip stitch behind that first half double crochet. All right, now we're going to do the little ruffle at the bottom. So starting in that same stitch that you just slip stitched, or not chaining 1, you're going to do a half double crochet, increase. So that's 1, 2 half double crochets in the same stitch, and then we're going to do 2 slip stitches. So slip stitch, slip stitch, and then we're just going to repeat that all the way around. So half double crochet, increase, 1 and 2, and then 2 slip stitches. Slip stitch, slip stitch, and repeat that again. Half double crochet increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, slip stitch, slip stitch, half double crochet increase, 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 slip stitch, still on my first slip stitch, second slip stitch, half double crochet increase, slip stitch, 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 and then you could slip stitch here and then there, but I'm going to skip this slip stitch and I'm just going to go into the next stitch just so I only have, just looks a little better in my opinion, not to have that big wide space there. And then leave a little bit of a tail to weave up and then put inside. And then just give that a nice little pull. All right, if you haven't already, let's stuff the head now. So what I'm going to do is hold the neck so that I have a little bit of pressure there so we don't stretch those stitches. And we want the head fairly firm, so I'm packing it up into the top of the head. And then I'm just going to kind of feel around if I have any space there, make sure they're filled. I'm not too concerned about the shape right now. I'll fix that after. Just make sure you're not stretching the stitches. My skin color is quite thin for a number 4, so my stitches are going to be a little stretched just so I can get the right proportion for the head. But if you have a regular number 4, you don't want to be seeing this around the bottom. All right, so that's pretty close. A little bit of a space over here, so I'm going to add a little bit there. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop. Just make sure it's kind of round and not pushed out on one side or the other. You can stuff up here a little bit, but I need to have a little bit of room to work around. So I'm not going to stuff that till I get probably the legs attached. All right, now we're going to attach a new chunk of yarn for the bottom half. And again, you can attach any way you prefer. I'll be making a knot with a loop on the end. And remember again, you want to make sure you're going from the inside to the outside in the same direction you've been crocheting the whole way through. And we're going to find that first back loop. So there's our first front loop stitch from when we started the skirt. Just flip that around and follow that around. There's our first back loop. You're going to attach your yarn. Pull that through. Try and leave the knot on the inside if you can, and chain 1. Now these are the back loops of row 30. So this is going to be row 31, 36 single crochets all the way around in the back loops, starting in that same stitch you attached the yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Row 32, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30, and make sure you're going behind that first single crochet and not in that chain where you attached your yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a decrease for 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and a decrease for 30. Row 33, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. 1, 2, 3, and a decrease for 4. And repeat that around. 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and a decrease for 24. Our next row, we're going to add the legs, so grab those and get those ready. And for row 34, we're going to start off with 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you should be right even with your arms. If you're left-handed, it's possible you may be doing this row backwards, so your 8 will be at the end. And then you're going to grab your first leg. Just have a quick look. This is the front because of the eyes. Make sure when you attach your leg that the toe is facing the body and the head. Because when you flip it the other way, we want to make sure that toe is pointed up. And we're going to do 6 single crochets through the leg and through the body. So into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 1, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 2, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 3, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 4, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 5, up into the leg, and then into the next stitch of the body. That's 6. And then you're going to flip that string to the inside. Grab your second leg. Again, make sure that the toes are facing the head and the body. And we're going to do 6 single crochets into the leg and into the body. So into the leg, into the next stitch. Just double check here. It's very easy to go in the same stitch. So that's 1, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body. That's 2, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body. That's 3, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body. That's 4, into the leg, into the next stitch of the body, that's 5, into the leg, and the next stitch of the body, that's 6. And again, put that string to the inside, and then you should have 4 single crochets left to finish off the row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's tie these leg strings now. So you're just going to take each string and loosely tie it across the inside of the body. You don't want to pull it too tight, otherwise your legs are going to squish like this. So just nicely along the inside, loosely at first, and then slowly tighten. As soon as you can pull without that knot slipping, you've got it tight enough. And we'll give that a cut. Now we might as well add the rest of our stuffing to the body. So when you're stuffing it, you're not going to be going into the neck. You're just going to be butting up to that stuffing from the head. And you don't need the body to be quite as firm. Just enough to fill it out, give it some shape. Maybe a little bit more. And when I do the bottom here, I kind of try and put the stuffing towards the back a little bit, and that gives it a little more stability on the back so it doesn't tip over. So that is lots, I think. That's too much. Let's take a little bit out. Because you want this to be flat. So it's flat across here. So if you have the same problem I did, just take a little bit out. You can always add a little bit on the last row if you need to. Row 35, we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease. Repeat that around for a total of 18. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3. And repeat that around. 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and a decrease for 18. Row 36, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, single crochet for 5, decrease for 6, single crochet for 7, decrease for 8, single crochet for 9, decrease for 10, single crochet for 11, decrease for 12. So we only have one row left, so if you need to add some stuffing or scooch it around so it's flatter, do that now. And for row 37, we're just going to do 6 decreases. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, and 6 decreases. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Tie that off, leave a bit of a tail for closing and putting on the inside. I'm going to take my stitch marker out. And now let's get our darning needle out. We're going to thread on that closing tail. And all we're going to do is weave in and out of these top loops all the way around. And if you happen to be doing this in the plush yarn, go 1 or 2 stitches and then pull. And that should help if your yarn breaks really easily. So once you're all the way around, you're just going to pull that to close it. And then what I like to do is just tie a knot into the next stitch. And then we'll just go down in the center and then out the back somewhere. I like to also give it a good little pull, and that brings that knot you just tied to the inside. And now let's do our little string from our dress. Where is that? There it is. So we're going to thread that on. So this is our ending tail for the skirt. And you're just going to come in right close to where you ended. And you're just going to weave in on the back side all the way to where you joined. Now usually I'd say tie a knot if you want to, and then I continue on, but I'm for sure going to tie a knot here because I don't want that to move. So I want to make sure it's not being pulled. And then I'm just going to tie a knot right close on the underside, just to make sure that skirt doesn't move and the string doesn't accidentally get pulled out. And when you pull that tight, you'll want to hold on to that side. Then we'll just put it inside and out somewhere. Guess I'll just go straight across. And we'll cut that. Now let's do the collar one. So I'm just threading that on. And I'm just going to actually just take this to the inside. I'm not doing anything else with it. Or you know what we could do? If you have a long enough string, let's put the little the little buttons on. So I'm just going to come in the center. And you're going to make these 1 or 2 wide. Just kind of make sure you're in the center. I'm going to come here and go across 2 stitches. So up through this, skip that hole, and then go in here. And I'm going to go around twice. 1, 2, and then I'm going to go down 2 rows. So not the next row, but the row after that. Try and match that evenly. I'm going to skip a hole and go into the next one. That's got to go around twice. I'll put a little note when we end this collar. I'll put a little note to leave a long tail, and then that'll make sure you have enough here. Then I'm going to go back in, and let's come up here where it ended and started. We'll tie a little knot, and then we'll go back inside. I just got to put it down here. So just catch one of your stitches of your collar, tie your knot, and then now we'll put it to the inside to hide it. Don't pull that too tight because you don't want to pull those buttons you just made. There, now we've got 1 extra step done. And if you find these aren't quite even, just put your needle up inside there, give them a bit of a pull and a wiggle, and that should help fix that. This one could be a little, whoop, there. Right, let's do the arm strings now. So thread one of your arm strings on. It does not matter which one because we do them both exactly the same. What you're going to do is you're going to find your tie off knot and the last stitch where you attached your arm. So right there, you're going to come out the back center. So I'm coming just below my collar here. Then thread on the other one. Find your knot and the last stitch that you went in. So mine is right there. Knot, stitch, and come out the same spot that your other tail came out. Now keep track of these ends. You want to know which goes to which side, and we're going to tie it 1 time. Just enough to hold it, and then we're going to wrap these ends around the neck. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pull, and it's going to bring those knots in and bring her arms forward. So just wherever you want them, remembering it will relax a little bit. Then you're going to tie it in the back to secure it. Whoop. Thread them back on, and we'll hide them inside. Also, when you're doing stuff like this, like I got a lot of extra tail here, hang on to these ends because they can be cheeks, or if it was black, it could be a smile. If it was white, it could be the eye accents. I always got a little pile of scraps that are about 12 inches long. Then I don't have to run and find my ball of that color. I can just grab whatever's sitting there beside me. Oh, she's coming along, guys. All right, now we're going to do the shaping of the eyes and bringing the face down like this. And what we need to do first is mark off where we want our yarn to come out down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our center. So it's right here for me. That's where we're going to tie our yarn, right there. So we're going to end up coming under and over, right? Up, down, up. So yeah, so you're going to skip 1 hole, And this is where your yarn is going to come out from the eye. And same thing on the other side. You're going to skip one hole, and then you're going to come into the next stitch. So center, skip a stitch, and there's where your other pin is. Okay, so if you don't have a scrap of the skin color, grab yourself a fair size piece. So this is probably about 1.5 to 2 feet long. We'll thread that on. And you're going to come, whatever stitch you feel is kind of at about a 45-degree angle from the eye. So right around here. And I'm just going to catch a bit of this stitch just because I don't want to pull that stitch over. And I'm going to come over and do the same thing on this side. So I'm just going to catch a bit of this stitch. So I'm at a 45 from the eyes. Pull that through so you have about the same amount of yarn on each side. And we're going to go around one stitch. So you should be kind of right under the eye. And you're going to come over to your first pin on that side. And dig down and grab some stuffing as you go, because you don't want to see this line. And you also want to be able to pinch that stuffing a bit. My hook came, or my needle came off. And then you're going to come around this stitch and up the center stitch that you marked off for tying. So that middle pin right there. I'll just leave that there for now. You're going to thread on your other end. Now you're going to go the other way around this stitch. You're going to come down to your other pin on the side, grabbing a chunk of stuffing as you come up. So my yarn is probably about right here instead of right across the front. Just pull that through. So I'm going to take that pin out. And then we're going to go around the next stitch, down, and then up through that center stitch where we pinned and our other tail is. Okay, we take that pin out now. We're going to give it one tie. And now what you're going to do is you're going to bring your eyes together and down and then pull. Together, down, and pull, just so you're not breaking your yarn. So it's easier if you kind of squish it down first and then give it a pull. Then when you're happy with where it is, you'll just tie that to secure it. Remembering again, it will relax a little bit. And make sure your eyes aren't too close together or they will look cross-eyed. Thread those ends back on. Then I'm just going to bring that back to that same hole and somewhere out the back. Give that a cut. Now we're going to do the little eye accents, so grab yourself some white, or if you want to try another color. And you're going to start by coming on the outside center of the eye. So this is the row that you would have attached your eye in. You're going to come over to the other side. And you may want to just grab a little sliver of a stitch because you don't want it to slide under the eye if you have a hole right there. So I just got a little piece of the stitch going straight across. Grab a little piece of the stitch on the other side of the row. Pull about halfway through, so you have the same amount of yarn on both sides. And then now you'll just kind of decide if you want to go up and over like this, or if you want to come down and under. I usually go down and under, but for this one I went up. So I'm just going to come up just a little bit to the inside So I don't want to be right at the center, but just, well, you could be wherever you like it. And then come up the middle somewhere between the eyes. And don't pull this too tight because you don't want it to go under your safety eye. Thread on your other end. And you're going to do the same thing. So I was just on the inside of this eye, so I want to be about the same place here. You may be in a stitch or in a hole, whatever looks the best for you. And then give it a light pull. That could have been a little closer to the eye on that one. And then you're going to tie that loosely. And tighter as you go. I need to do one more, I think. And then we'll put that to the inside the head. And when you're doing this one, you want to make sure you're not pulling those whites of your eyes. So what I like to do is I get my pin to the other side, and then I just kind of watch, and then as soon as that knot is through, I stop pulling. And then I'm going to cut this without pulling on it. And I'm just going to swoop that in with my needle so it's right there. If it was a darker color, you would for sure see that. So I just put my needle to the side and then just swoop it away. And you may have to come to the front and fix the little hole where you tied your knot. All right, now we're going to do the eyebrows. And what I do is I just separate my yarn. There's usually 4 strands in your number 4 yarn. And I've already stolen 2 out of here, so I'm just going to take these last 2 apart. One's going to be my eyebrows, one's going to be my mouth. So we'll just thread that on. And I'm going to put my eyebrows 1 row up from my eye. So right here, lined up with the inside of my eyeball, and then come over and do the same thing on this side. If you can, dig down and grab some stuffing so you don't see a black line right across. You're going to pull about half through, and then you're just going to kind of see where you want it. And I'm going to be putting mine right there. So I'm just going to be 1 stitch over from my eye on both sides. So there's the top of my eye, and I'm just going to go 1 stitch over, go down, make sure I get a good chunk of stuffing, and then come up between the eyebrows if you can. And you want to pull this fairly loosely. Then you're going to do the other side. And again, I'm going to be 1 hole over from the inside of my eye. So right there, and I'm 1 row down. Come out in the same spot your other end came out. Now, sometimes the way your stitches line up, they won't be even, but this actually worked out good for a change. So if you're happy with them, you can tie them. If one seems a little longer than the other, you can just give it a little pull to try and shorten it. Then you're going to tie these a couple of times. Make sure you're not pulling your eyebrows. Thread that on. And then out the back, and we're going to do that lightly, just like we did the eye accent. So just pull it till the knot is just through, and then you want to be gently pulling it out on this side. We'll give that a little cut. I can kind of see that, so just swoop it down and away. Just double check everything. I have to scooch my stitches around to fill that hole. All right, now we're going to give her a little nose. I'm just taking some skin color. And I'm going to go 2 rows down from where we inserted the eyes. So 1, 2, And then I'm just going to find my 2 center stitches here. That's going to be the middle of my nose. I'm going to come down a couple of rows and out on the one side of the nose, skip a stitch, and come in on this side of the nose. So leave some thread for tying. And we're just going to wrap around those 2 stitches a couple of times. I think I usually do about 4 to 6 times. Just whatever you feel looks right, and depending on the thickness of your yarn. So that's 2, this will be 3, and then 4. I might do one more time. So this will be 5. I guess I'm going to do 6. Because I want the last one to kind of come down here. So then I'm going to come out where I started. I'm going to give that a tie. And thread that back on and out. And I don't want to pull this one too hard either. So I'm just going to kind of watch, and as soon as that knot's in, I'm going to turn it around and loosely take out my ends. Give that a cut. And if for some reason you happen to pull too hard and your nose got stretched or uneven, again, you can just come in like this and give it a wiggle and a pull, and that will help fix it. And now we're going to do the mouth, and you'll notice that if you've really paid attention to the thumbnail, I have a really wide mouth. Then I was taking my photos and I realized I didn't like it, so after I changed it. So we're going to come 2 rows down from the nose, 1, 2. This is going to be the center of our mouth, and I went over about 3 holes from this center stitch right here. Let me put a pin in there. So that's just the center under our nose, 2 rows down. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to start over here for the side of my mouth, but you're going to come down a bit so we can tie it down here. Bring most of your yarn through, but leave a little bit for tying, and then you go 1, 2, 3 and into that hole and out in the same spot as your other end is. And you can make yours any width you want. And then if you're happy with that, we'll just tie that and take it out the back somewhere. Thread your ends on in that same hole and out the back. And again, do it lightly so you're not pulling your yarn. Give it a cut. Swoop that little piece of black away if you need to. Oh, I just kind of went over the stitch funny. There we go. All right, we're going to do the hair now, and you can begin your rows any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches. In row 1, I'll be doing a knot with a loop on the end. Insert my hook, grab my yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that does not count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 6 half double crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to slip stitch into our very first half double crochet and chain 1. And all that's doing is going to give us the height for the half double crochets in our next row. And then also, if you need to pull your tail to close the hole, do that as well. Row 2, starting in that same stitch we just slip stitched in, we're going to do 6 half double crochet increases all the way around. So in half double crochet increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Half double crochet increase, 3 and 4 in the same stitch. Half double crochet increase, 5 and 6, increase, 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, and our last increase, 11 and 12. And as you're going around doing these with the slip stitch and chain 1, you're going to notice it looks like you have an extra stitch you need to go into. You don't. That's what we call a false stitch, and that's just from our slip stitch and going over and in the same stitch when we start our first row. So don't go in that stitch, just keep track of your count. So now we're going to slip stitch into our first half double crochet and chain 1. Row 3, starting in that same stitch we slip stitched in, we're going to do 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1 half double crochet for 1, 1 half double crochet increase for 2 and 3, and then repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and our last increase, 17 and 18. And then we're just going to slip stitch into our first half double crochet of the previous row, or of the same row, and then chain 1. Row 4, we are going to do 2 half double crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, half double crochet increase for 3 and 4, and then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24. 4, and then slip stitch up behind that first half double crochet of the row and chain 1. Row 5, we are going to do 3 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 30. So 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, 3 half double crochets, and a half double crochet increase, 4 and 5. And repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, and then slip stitch just behind your first half double crochet and chain 1. Row 6, we are going to do 4 half double crochets, 1 increase. Repeat that around for a total of 36. So 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, 3 half double crochets, 4 half double crochets, and a half double crochet increase for 5 and 6, and repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, increase, 29 and 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, increase, 35 and 36, and then slip stitch into or behind that first half double crochet and chain 1. Row 7, we are going to do 36 half double crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and then slip stitch behind that first half double crochet. And now we're going to start the strands of the hair, and we're going to start by doing 13 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now starting in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do 12 half double crochets down the chain, and make sure your chain doesn't twist as you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then from where you slip stitch to go up in your chain, you're going to skip one stitch and then slip stitch into the next stitch. And we're going to do this 6 times. So chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and in that second chain from the hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Skip that next stitch and slip stitch in the stitch after that. So we've got 2. Now we're going to chain 13 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and starting in that second chain from the hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, skip a stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. So now that's 3, chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, starting in that second chain, 12 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, skip a stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. So now we have 4, chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and again starting in that second stitch from your hook, 12 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, skip a stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. So now we have 5, chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and in that second chain from a hook, 12 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, skip a stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. So now you have 6 strands of hair, and we're going to do the bangs next. So we're going to do 5 half double crochets, 1, 2, And now we're going to do 2 slip stitches. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 5 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And now we're going to do 6 strands of hair on this side. So chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now we're going to start in our second chain from the hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then you're going to skip a stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Starting in that second chain from the hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Skip a stitch, go in the next stitch. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now in that second chain from the hook, going down, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Skip a stitch, go in slip stitch in the next stitch. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and starting in that second chain from the hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, whoops. So that was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Skip a stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then starting in that second chain from your hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Skip a stitch, slip stitch. Right, so we have 5 done. This is our last one. Chain 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And starting in that second chain from the hook, 12 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whoops, I didn't half double crochet. So still 12. And then you are going to skip that next stitch and slip stitch in this. It should be where you started, but you're not. If you're not, it doesn't matter too much as long as you have your 6 strands. Then you're gonna slip stitch, tie off, and leave yourself quite a bit of tail because we're going to use that to sew this on. So what I do is when it's doubled, I wrap it around about twice. And then I'm just going to leave myself a little bit more in case you want to sew down the little strands as well. All right, now we're going to attach the hair cap, and you're just going to kind of place it wherever you feel like you want it and centered so that the little divot we made for her bangs is in the center. And I'm about, from where we started the eyes, 1, 2, 3, and just a little bit above. So I'm kind of covering that 4th row a little bit. And if you're not sure, just kind of check, make sure that all your ends are covering the neck. And then let's pin it on. I'm going to use this guy because my other guy doesn't have enough pins, I don't think. I'm going to start by pinning it right in the center. And then I'm going to take a pin on each side of the bang and pull them down to where I want them. And you can use more pins if you want. Pull this down a little bit. And then I'm just going to start pinning around kind of about every strand of hair, maybe. This is just so it doesn't move around as you're twisting and turning. I maybe don't need this many, but it's definitely not going to move. If you're new to sewing stuff on, you'll want to have lots of pins. The more pins you have in, the more successful you'll be, because it's not going to be high on one side and low on the other because you accidentally moved it and didn't realize. Alright, that should be lots. So let's thread on our end. So we're in the back, and just decide which way you want to go. I'm going to be going this way. So I'm just going to come down into the head, grab a bit of a stitch, then I'm going to come up. Just what my goal is, so where we had skipped a stitch, there's a bit of a hole, so I'm going to come down in this and up in this, or the other, however it works out. So I'm going to go above that little hole, maybe right into a stitch. And then I'm going to go down into the hair strand and then come up to the top half of the hair cap. So what we're doing is just making sure that if these strands are pulled on, you're not going to see that little gap. So I'm going down into the strand, then up into the hair cap, just above the next strand, and down into the strand, and up into the hair cap, and I'm catching a stitch instead of going in the big hole. Down into the hair strand, catching the head, coming up above the next hair strand, down into the strand, up into a piece of the stitch above the strand, whoop, I did so good not catching those, and then down into the strand. Let's take these out now. And then now I'm going to come up and down all the stitches. I'm just going to show you what I do so you don't really see this stitch. So I'm going to come into the actual stitch where we would go if we were crocheting. And then if you notice there's this strand right here that goes across, I'm going to use that as my strand with this so you don't see it. So it's just going to go on top of that, and I'm going to come down just under the V of the next stitch. Just if you watch that, and then you won't see these stitches, they'll just look normal. So I'm going to follow up this strand, go down and catch the head, and then come up under the V of the next stitch. Follow this strand up, down into the next stitch. Just make sure you're catching the head as you're going around. Follow the strand up into the next stitch. Follow the strand around into the next stitch. And so here, because we did slip stitches, my strand goes this way, so I'm going to come follow it this way and then go into that slip stitch. I'm going to follow this stitch over. It doesn't matter what stitch as long as you're going over top of a stitch. I'm going to follow this stitch. And just kind of keep in mind when you're doing this side where it fell on this side. So mine's pulled down a bit, so I've got to make sure this side stays pulled down a bit. Follow the stitch up. Grab the head and out the next. Oops, make sure you get the head. And you're just going to do that all the way around. Alright, while I'm doing this, I'm just going to remind you guys, if you haven't already, if you ever want to share something you've made with me, I have a Facebook craft page. It is listed as a link down below the video in the description. I think it's the first thing there. If you follow that, you can come over to my page. You don't have to like or follow or anything if you don't want to. And then you just find a post. Most people find the post of what they made and then go to there and just go down into the comments. Also, most of my things I've made in the last year or two, I put down the yarn type and color and the hook size and everything in the description as well as any links I think that might interest you. So like if you're doing Cindy Lou here, I might have, say, the Grinch and Max, or the puppy and Max's horn. And if you follow along to the very end of the video, I also put up 4 things in the corners of videos that I think might interest you depending on what video it is. And you can always leave comments here on the video. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back to them, but I do answer everyone. Okay, I'm at the end now. So this is where we started. Now you can leave it like this if you want, but I decided, since I made them so long, that I'm going to go down about 3 stitches down. I'm going to go all the way over to here, come down another 3 or so stitches, and go all the way around, up and back around. But before I did that, I did pin that. So I'm just going to pin it around the 3rd stitch, all the way around, and bring these together. So there's no space there. And it will bring her hair in a bit from the front, but I think it's still okay that way. And then do the other side from the center back over. That'll just keep them even for you on each side. Oh, and also, if you're still watching, if you ever see anything in the background, you can go to my YouTube channel page by clicking on my photo or name and click the videos tab, and you should be able to find anything you've seen. And if you can't, you can always leave a comment, say I can't find it, And if I'll try and find the link for you. All right, I'm going to start by coming down and up. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go about the third half double crochet down. I'm going to just go around a stitch and then come up into the next one. Go around a stitch, come into the next one. I should have put my pins a little differently, looks like. Down a stitch into the next one. Down a stitch and into the next strand. Oop, make sure you're going in a stitch, and that'll help kind of keep it less spacey. Oh, I never really paid attention to if you can see this. Down a stitch and then into the next one. Now you almost could just end here, but since I got to get to the other side, I'm going to come down about 2 stitches. So I'm just kind of right about here on her head. I'm going to do the same thing the other way. Sorry, this is going to be really long, but I know some of you enjoy seeing this part. And those of you that don't, you can always just double click and fast forward. Okay, so now remember we're on the bottom side. We don't have anything up here yet, so you want to make sure you're staying under your pins. Or I mean in this right now I'm above them, but at the bottom side by the neck. Looks like I put these ones lower on this side, so and then I'm on my last one here. And now I'm going to move up to do the top. So I did the tops on the other side around the third half double crochet down. So that's what I'm going to do, going back to the center. I think my center's right about there. I'm just going to do one more stitch between my 2 center ones. So I've got 6 on each side, so that's my center. And then you can just tie a knot somewhere. I'm going to put these 2 together first and then tie my knot. Just because there's a bit of a space there. I'm just going to come down somewhere where you won't see it. And I'm going to tie it onto one of my sewing stitches. just on this stitch right here where I sewed it on. Tie a knot and then put it in and out somewhere. I'm just going to come up the top of the head. Give it a bit of a pull so that knot will go to the inside and cut it. And I did have to kind of squish her head this way a bit so she looked a little better, I thought. Okay, now we're going to do the little bow and we're going to be making a chain. You can start your chain any way you prefer, but do leave yourself a bit of a tail for attaching and tying. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. Insert your hook and we're going to chain 41. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Now starting in that second chain from the hook, we're going to do 40 half double crochets all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. All right, now we're just going to take our two ends and fold them together. Whatever side you want to be on the outside, you're going to have on the inside right now. So I want to see the front side of my half double crochets, so those sides are going to go together. And we're just going to do 2 slip stitches on the ends here to join them together. So we're going to go into this one end stitch and then into the end stitch on our working side. It doesn't matter if this is pretty or anything, it's going to be covered. So that's one slip stitch and then a slip stitch into the next stitch on the end. We're just joining them together and then tie that off. Leave yourself a bit of a string here. Then I'm going to flip it the other way. Maybe let's tie these two ends together first. So we have the right side on the outside right now. Where our tie is, we want to make the bottom of our bow. And we're just going to kind of center it so that's in the very middle. So right now, if you finished it off, both your bow ends will be about the same length. But we want to have one side longer than the other. So what I'm going to do is find the center on this side. And I'm just going to move it over to the center on the bottom. So now we got one side like this and one side like this. And then we're going to take one of your strings, we're going to wrap it around to make the bow center. I know my thumb's on there, you can't see it, but I'm just going to wrap it around a couple of times. And then we're going to tie those two ends together again, nice and tight. And we want to make sure that this knot is either on the bottom or the back side. We don't want it on top, because otherwise you're going to see it. I might thread this on first. And let's lift this up a bit. I don't know if you're going to see the whole bow. Maybe. Okay. And then just decide where you want it, remembering that your knot is either in the back or the bottom, because this is the front. And I put mine kind of a bit to the side, and what am I? 1, 2, 3, about the 4th row up. And then all you're going to do is come down, catch the head, catch that row. You can see that. And then I'm going to wrap it around. I might do that 2 times just so it's secure. Now that's all I did. If you want, you could stitch across here a couple of times if you want it to be flat. So I'm just going to wrap it around now to the back. Tie my 2 ends together. Make sure that knot's on the bottom, or as close to the bottom as you can get it. I'm going to tie it twice. And then we'll just thread those ends back in. Put them down and out the back somewhere. I always choose where I have the messiest batch of stitches to see. That's okay, the hair covers that. Pull it nice and tight so the knot's on the inside. Give it a cut. Don't cut your hair. Oops, I put it on backwards. That's okay. She'll be the other way around. And I just use the weight of the thickness of the yarn to hold it up. There's no wire or nothing in there. So I just, however I want it, it just seems to be staying. And then I know she doesn't actually have bows on her shoes, but I thought it made a cute little accent to add little bows. So all I did was took some scraps of white, thread it on your needle, find the middle of your shoe, about 1 row down. I just went around a stitch and tied a bow. So you want about half on each side, 1 tie, and then make your little bow. And then we'll just cut those shorter. Guess my video is long enough. I might as well do the second one too. I'm sorry they're always so long, but I do appreciate your patience and watching through to the end. It really does help me out because YouTube goes by watch hours. So if you've watched the whole thing now, I really do appreciate that. Alright, make sure your bows are even. Cut them off. And there we go. Little Cindy Lou Who. I know she doesn't look exactly like Cindy Lou Who, but I think if you add the Grinch and Max, she kind of goes with the set. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does it help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.